Hey, good morning. This is Chris Bowling.
Hey, this is Chris Beyer.
Today, we're going to talk about a client success story. One that I felt what the client asked was a impossible request, but Chris is going to talk about what we actually have done for this client over the past 3 years. So, Chris, what did this client ask us to do 3 years ago?
Oh, it was kind of an impossible question that was posed to us as we were going through a discovery meeting and working with that client. The owner looked at us from across the conference room table and said, I've always had a goal in the back of my mind that I want to see my employees not have to spend more for their health care every year. And I'd like to see that in 3 years, they're paying the same amount out of their paycheck, because we give them raises every year, and every year we get complaints that, well, you just gave me a raise to raise my health care and I'm back to the same spot. And we looked at it and said, okay, are you willing to work with some of these unique levers that we know we can pull? And if so, let's put you on a path to do so. And I'm proud to report that, for the renewal this year, we've achieved that 3-year goal. And we are now in year 4, and we're working further to try to keep that in that same range of employee costs being frozen for 3 to 4, maybe even 5 years if we can do this well.
Right. So let's talk about some of the specific things, Chris, that we had to, what was step 1, what was step 3, and what was step 5?
No, that's a good question. It's when we started talking to this employer before they were a client, they had always been in a fully insured healthcare arrangement. And we were letting them know that there is a more modern way for you to control your healthcare cost. But we don't know for sure that you should be self-funded, but we know that that is a way to have more control. And before hiring us, they made that move to self-funding, kind of jumping in without really knowing what they were in for. And so we took them on as a new client with that goal, and newly to self-funding, we not only had to help them understand what that meant from a strategy standpoint, from a finance standpoint, but we started right off the bat helping educate their employees on what it means to be part of a self-funded health plan.
Right.
For years and years, those employees just went to the doctor, they handed over their ID card, and they waited for the bill to show up. They had no concept of who was actually paying that bill.
Right.
And we spent a lot of time educating the employees on, when you go to the doctor, think about your employer, think about yourself, because it's you, your fellow employees, and your company that are paying this claim. And it wasn't to stop going to the doctor, it was to just think about that. And that was really a focus year 1. We started to make some adjustments internally with, really how they funded that in terms of who was paying what premiums, and how we adjusted that cost contribution. But ultimately, it's led us to finding a more transparent third-party administrator,
Yes.
a more transparent pharmacy benefit manager, so that they could actually realize some of the savings that came from knowing what drug costs were and where the rebates were going. And then we've also implemented more education, continuing to push that focus of know where you go, shop ahead of time. And we're giving them some tools to pick their provider before they go in, know how much that cost may be, and find the best possible cost for those procedures with the best possible clinics, the best possible outcomes. And we're starting to see those employees ask the right questions before they have care, and not just spend those healthcare dollars.
Right. And I think about the education process and what we've learned. I mean, specifically this employer, most of their employees were males.
Yes.
And let's be honest, it's the spouse who is
Right.
who's helping run that family, who's helping, taking kids to doctor visits.
Right.
And it's both parents, but to me, it was, how do we get in front of those spouses to make sure that our story and the employer story is getting back home? And personally, I have to applaud you, because you did a lot of evening meetings just like this in a virtual environment. And we're starting to see that certainly pay off. So well done.
Yeah, it was, one of those positives from COVID, which is odd to say, is that we couldn't do our traditional employee meetings at each of their multiple locations. And while those were good educational sessions, it was just with the employee, and it was hard to get that to translate to the home environment or to anyone else who might be on the plan. And yes, those evening sessions, have allowed us not only to engage the rest of the family and let them ask questions in this format, but then we've recorded the presentations and are able to push that out to the entire enrolled population so that they kind of have that on-demand, educational opportunity. So we're not done by any means.
No.
I think each of our CB Squared clients has a totally different fit and feel, and they all have different goals, different cultures. But ultimately, if we're helping educate the employees both on what it means for their personal cost, what that does for the employer cost, we're going to see better decisions made and continue to see those goals being achieved for the employer.
Yeah, I agree. I'm super excited for the next 2 years with this client, because I think what we've laid out as to what needs to be accomplished this year, next year, and the following year.
Right.
Like you said, maybe we're going to get to 5-6 years and our healthcare spend has actually gone down, not up.
Right.
And shoot, I'd be happy if it just stayed the same. But
yeah,
I think it's going to go in the opposite direction. I think we're going to be able to drive costs even lower than where they are today. So
yeah, it's the fun. I mean, these are the types of ways that we're helping coach our clients to be better, and it's a big piece of what we do with CB Squared, trying to find that better way all the time.
Yeah, nice work.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Take care.